So in this lecture, we are going to cover the topic of why it is that we need statistics. Before I get started in talking about any of the items that are on this screen, I want you to all, as you're watching this, do me a favor, take out a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen, and I want you to count the number of times I say the word so, S-O. All right, so as we're going through this, and you can start already, you're going to count the number of times I say so in this video. And we'll come back to that in a little bit. So this lecture is about why it is that we need statistics. And I have a few ideas up on the screen. You can think about some of the reasons why you think we might need statistics. From previous semesters, having live classes, there are a few items that students often say when I ask the question in class, and I've put in these bullet points here a few of the most common answers. So one thing that people say a lot is that we need statistics to understand how data are collected, analyzed, and summarized. And that's a great answer to this question. Another common response is that we use statistics and we need statistics to understand research articles. Now, this is a 200 level class. You may not have had the opportunity in your psych classes to read a lot of research articles, but the first few times you read a research article, typically what students will do is they read the abstract very carefully. They'll read the introduction, skim the method, skip the results, and go right to the discussion. And it's actually the results section that is the most important. The method and results are the most important. And so after we're done with this class, you should be able to understand research articles better because you're going to understand how to read that research, the results section. Another reason we need statistics is to be able to find patterns in data that we may not see without the use of statistics. And also, statistics helps us to make predictions. So all those are great answers, but the answer that I think is the most important, and which will be an exam question, is the one that I have written in red here. We need statistics because data are unreliable. Now I've put a little formula up here for you, and I'm going to walk through it and then we're going to do some examples. So this formula is x equals t plus e, where x is any observed score, t is the true score, and e is error. So basically what this little formula, I know that's confusing to get a formula in week one, but basically what this formula is saying is that anytime we collect any sort of data, there's always error. All right, so there's always going to be error in our measurements. We're going to have an observed score, and we'll talk about this more in the example. So we'll have an observed score on something, but there's always error in our measurements. So somehow we have to get between the observed score and the error to figure out what the true score is on something. All right, so back to my examples. I want you to look down at your paper and tell me, or just tell yourself, how many times it is that you counted the word so far. I was trying to keep track myself. I think I said it about 7 or 8 times. Did you write down 7 or 8 times? If you didn't get the same number as I did, why is that? It's pretty simple to count the word so. All you have to do is listen. So why is it that I might get a different number than you get? It's because of error. All right, the type of error we're talking about when I count something and you count it different is inter-rater reliability. And we'll come back to that later in the semester. So the second example I want to give, and I'm going to write some things up here, is presidential polling. You hopefully all know that there is a presidential election coming up, and I looked this morning at the online polls, and CNN's poll has the following data. So CNN has Biden with a 51% chance of winning. And it has Trump with a 43% chance of winning. So if you look at those numbers, it looks pretty clear that if the election were held today, Biden has a commanding lead by 8%. So if anybody looked at that poll and that was the only information you got, looks like Biden is a shoo-in for the White House. But when you look a little further down on the poll, it tells you that there is a 4% margin of error. And what that means is each of these numbers could be 4 points less or 4 points greater. So the range for Biden today is anywhere between 47 and 55%. And how did I get that? I subtracted 4 from 51 to get 47, and I added 4 to 51 to get 55. Doing the same thing with Trump, if we subtract 4%, we have 39. And if we add 4%, we have 47. So if the poll for Biden is 4 points too high, then today Biden has a 47% chance of winning. And if the poll for Trump was 4 points too low, then Trump also has a 47% chance of winning, which means that even though it looks like Biden has a commanding lead, this is dead even. And it's because of the 4% margin of error. The last example I'm going to give is the SATs. So I want you to think about the SATs, and I want you to ask yourself if you took the SATs more than once. Now, if you didn't take them more than once, I want you to imagine that you did take them twice. And I want you to ask yourself if you got the same score the first time and the second time. I will tell you that it's quite unusual for students to get the same score both times they take the SATs, or 3 times, however many times they take it. It's very unusual for students to get the same score each time they take it. But this makes no sense because the SATs are supposed to measure your ability to perform English tasks, so reading comprehension, vocabulary, analogies, and your basic math skills. And depending on the SAT you took, sometimes it looks at your writing skills. But the SATs, no matter what time you take it, you're supposed to get the same score. It's an indication of your actual ability in English, in math, in writing. So you should not get the same score, or you should not get a different score if you take it at different points in time. But we all know that you do, because you practice, or you don't sleep, or you take it on an empty stomach. There's all sorts of reasons why you get different scores. Why is that? Well, it's error. Now, I don't mean that it's error in terms of the SAT itself, but it's a type of experimental error that we're going to talk about in the next video. All right, so thinking about all this together, the main point of this is to answer this question. Why is it that we need statistics? And the reason that we need statistics is because data are unreliable. What do I mean by that? I mean there is always error in our measurements. Anytime we collect data, there's going to be error in it.